Hey, this is Hamp Overton and with Paul Catalanato, and this week we're going to look at a short called Don't Peek. Don't Peek is written and directed by Julian Terry, who was also the editor of it, and it came out in October 2020, and it has over 18 million views. This short is of a young woman playing a Nintendo Switch when things don't go well. Paul, what do you think of this film?
I think this might be one of the best we've seen, and we've seen a really, all of them are great. All of them are worthy of this list, but this one really stood out to me. This one reminded me of Pictures in that it constantly felt like I was watching something new in its 6 minute time frame.
Hmm.
The actress does a great job. I really believe she was terrified. And I thought the switch gag really, really worked. I've played Animal Crossings with my daughter, and I can't imagine Animal Crossings being terrifying. But the way they presented it here absolutely was terrifying. And look, Hamp, you know me. You know how with the movies I watch, you know what I watch for fun and what I relax to. And this one, I won't say. Yeah, no, I will say this one actually managed to get a little bit. I'm creeped out. And the first time I saw it a couple of years ago, I actually jumped when the monster reveals itself at the end, which is really hard to do with me.
With a jaded horror film viewer like yourself, huh?
It really is. It's a very hard thing. And I didn't even have the headphones on and they were able to get me to jump. I don't know
Hmm.
why. I should have saw it coming a mile away that we were going to see something, but the
That's
way
a
they
good
did it,
point.
I didn't think it was going to come from where it came from.
You should have seen it coming and you didn't. So that probably means that you were really engrossed in the film, which is exactly what every filmmaker wants you to do. You're so involved in it that you're not outside of it going, oh, the jump is going to come, and then you're not, and then oh, there it is, that kind of thing. So that's a great testament to this short that it engrossed you so well.
And it did. And there are a lot of things going for this. Julian really did a great job lighting this.
Hmm.
You know, some of the shorts we've watched, they've ranged from beautiful to serviceable, which is fine because I think that's kind of the built-in aesthetic of watching these things on YouTube. But this movie is professional level in the way that it looks. It's very glossy. And it got in South by. It deserves to get it deserved to get in South by. But it's the gag. And I think one of the reasons the gag works, and I really wanted to ask you about this, you have to inch into the screen with the gag because it's not like it's too far away, but it's small. It's perfectly easy to see.
You're talking about the video game.
Yeah, the video game, and you got to look in a little bit. It's like it makes you come
Ah.
a little closer, and I think that worked to the benefit of this short. Even if you watch it on your phone, wherever way you watch it, I watched it both on my phone and laptop. But I had to go in both times to see the sprites because you want to see all the details and like what
Hmm.
they're doing. And because it's bringing you in, that makes you, it's like it takes you out of thinking what they're doing to like what's going on. I don't know. What do you think?
Do you think that was a conscious design, or do you think it just kind of worked out that way?
Well, it doesn't matter, whatever way. I'm gonna always lean that it was a conscious design. Whether it is part of the movie, but that's how it worked for me, and that was what made it effective, was how
Hmm.
it drew me in. Because like arguably the best scare of it is when she refuses to let it come out, right?
Right.
Tells it no, and then we hear the noise, and then she looks back down, and the hand comes out, and the face comes out. That's all just a video game sprite. But couple that with the sound design that they did, it was really effective.
Yeah, plus you have to have the buildup. If it was a poor buildup, it wouldn't have worked nearly as well. This falls back on the classic horror film tropes, which is you have a vulnerable person, in this case, a young woman, and she's by herself and she's at night, and you release a monster on her. And so, and I noticed that looking at his other films, he does that almost all every time too. And that's his, he's figured out that recipe and he's used it again and again and again. So, but this one worked really well. I agree with you. It was a lot of fun to watch. And I don't know if it was the inclusion of the video game that helped so much. It was done very, like you said, done very professionally. So we're not drawn out of the cinematic experience because we look at the video game and go, and they didn't do that really well. I've played Animal Crossing before, and that's not how it looked. It was exact. It was done. I don't know how it got the monster, and I guess it's done with animation and stuff like that. But these are the things that I think worked well with this one is that like I've said in the past, you can engage viewers through emotion or through intellect, and this does it on both levels. In that um, you want to find out what the creature is, that's you trying to solve the mystery, and yet at the same time, he creates a very sinister environment. So that's the emotion of it. So those things worked really well there, and it moves it along very well. The identification of using the video game, which probably a lot of his viewers are familiar with, also makes it help and work really well, I think, because they're like, oh, I've played late at night, so now you can immediately put your viewers in the same position as our heroine right there. It's just one room, and that was really kind of neat. Is that you again we see this a lot done with horror films is you narrow the geography of the environment, and in this is just a single room. But when you do that, you have to be a good enough director to keep it interesting within that room. And I think he did a good job with doing that, with his coverage and releasing of the monster, the interaction with the video game. All of it was led it up to bring a lot more interest to it. And also because he was able to do it correctly, and it looked like he brought in some skilled people to help in the post-production of it and such. So the illusion was never dropped because it was done so well. And so, and so I think those are just some of the factors that worked really well with this film.
No, absolutely. And and what's great is too, so it's 2020, so I would guess it's a COVID movie. No, I think I read that it was a COVID movie. They were quarantined. So the movie works really good for the metaphor of us all being stuck at home doing something. You
Right.
can't go
Hmm.
anywhere. You're stuck here with something you don't know if it's going to kill you or not. I had to watch it. It took me the third time to realize how the monster was going to get her. I, and I was so engrossed with it, but I never caught that is when she gets scared and jumps back and she hits the button yes to let it go.
Yeah, that kind of clicks right by pretty quickly there.
I didn't notice that. It took me three times to watch the short. And I mean, I guess fourth if I'm going to count watching it years ago, during COVID.
Now
Uh,
sometimes these shorts, I'm curious if you know the answer to this, they get viewed by someone who gives them a boost in viewership. Do you know if that happened with this one?
I don't know. You would suspect because he's got a decent subscriber rate, right? He has 88,000 subscribers, and all of his stuff has a decent amount of views,
Of views, right?
comments. Usually it comes down to the comments, but that's possible that he was picked up. Because, like, once you start, you get a fan base, then people cover your stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
it's a part of the ecosystem. This one reminded me a little bit of Ballerina, too, in that first she's kind of very interested in it. She plays with it. It's cute,
Right, right.
which I think is to the benefit of this short, right? Like it gives it a place to go.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right, because at first she's a little spooked by it, but then, hey, this is fun. Look at the drawer open, that kind of stuff. And then she starts engaging with it. And then, of course, the creature is released. So, and I think because I was watching some of his other films, and what seemed to work better for this one is that he clearly defined the rules of this universe that he created. And he takes us through it. Oh, I can turn the light off with my game here. Oh, I can open a drawer with that game here. And then of course, when the creature comes out, well, we know that there's a overlap between the video game and the real world. And I noticed that when I looked at some of his other shorts, I think one of the things that didn't work for a couple of them is that it wasn't as clear the defining rules of the universe that he created, and sometimes it seems like they weren't following the rules, and therefore you kind of scratch your head. And I think that's important for an important rule for most films to work is that you create the universe as a director and a writer and a filmmaker, and you have to work within that universe. We've all watched a movie where at the end, the ending comes out of left field, and you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. It looks like they just, oh, they it was all a dream, or they all one of those things like that. And it's really frustrating to viewers. It's like, ah, man, this isn't good at all. But he creates and he explains to you very clearly the world that this woman is in. And because we know that the video game can interact with the real world, we get scared when the video game starts to become dangerous. And then it's like, how is she going to get out of here? And he traps her in behind the bed so she can't make it to the door. First, the creature's in the door, and then she's trapped behind the bed. So it really was well thought out and well planned in how they structured this film and stayed fairly religious to the rules that they created within the film world.
Yeah, because he does a great job of like making it a scare at first because it's that sound. She opens the drawer and then it alerts her.
Hmm.
She closes it and then she opens it again and then we see it open.
Right.
And then we're with her and then she because it's like we were saying, it's because she plays with it.
No, you're right. It's a video game, and she's enjoying the entertainment part of it until she's not.
Well, no, and exactly because, but it gives you, but and I think that might be what you're hitting on with some of his other ones, because the other ones kind of start like they're in trouble right off the bat. And because they're in trouble right off the bat, the viewer might struggle to understand, well, wait a minute, what are the rules? Why are you in trouble? Where
Hmm.
this one, it holds your hand a minute, which is part of what really makes it scary is you feel like, well, I understand this person exploring this newfound thing. It's interesting, it's cute, it's fun. And then you go along with them and you're also trapped because that's what the monster essentially is doing, right? It's fun, it's new, this is interesting. Will you let me out? And then it's mad when you don't. You're trapped. You've already played and
Hmm.
acknowledged it.
Hmm.
One thing I want to add that I don't think we mentioned was it never gets repetitive for a single location.
Right. Right. Hmm. Yeah, he does a great job. And usually a short film is the first act is very truncated. And then most of the short film is of the second act, which is the conflict. And then the third act is very short also. This one has a very short third act, when it reveals itself. That's it. But the first act is actually fairly long, as in it's introducing us to the rules of this universe that he's created. And it's not until she actually sees the little glowing eyes on the video game that we're into the second act and she feels concerned. So it's a little unusual. And I think that's why this, as a short, isn't as short as some of the ones we've seen. This one's almost 7 minutes long, I think. But he uses it wisely. It works out very well how the structure of the short film that he created here.
So, now that I believe this is number 8 that we've done.
Sounds right. Mhm.
Have you noticed anything? I know this is kind of off topic. Have you noticed anything, what makes these successful? Because like in our research, I'm always surprised at how often a lot of these follow the same formula. And I've seen countless more that don't work. Do you think it has to do with the formula has to be the same, but it has to offer that one little different thing like this one does with the video game?
Well, I think it's a collective things have done. First of all, almost all films, whether they're short films or major motion picture feature films, they all follow the 3 act structure. Well, take that back. There might be some that have a 4 act structure where they go in the middle of it, but 99.9% of them follow the 3 act structure. And this does too. Okay. So to say there's a formula, I think we have to go beyond that. And there's a couple of things we can look at. We can look at, story. We can look at production value. We can look at performance. We can look at editing. We can look at production design, and we can also look at things like special effects. And then, as you mentioned, sound is a big player too. Not just the sound inherent in the film, but sound effects and music. And all of these things have to work, and it all has to come together in a believable fashion. Now, the key things are directing, editing, script, and performance. And you could come and mix performance in with directing because the director has to hire the right actor, work with them to get the performance they need. But if you get a good actor, as as some directors say, 80% of your job is done as a director. And then the script has to be written correctly. And then, of course, once you shoot it all, you have to put it all together correctly. And that's the editor's job. And he was the writer, director, and editor of all of this. And it just really worked well. He did all three of those things very well. And so I haven't revealed any secret formula here as to why this one works. It's just it's very competently done. Again, it follows a standard formula here. Uh, so I would just say the and I feel like it's kind of a cop out. It's just it was very skilled in all aspects of it. Nothing detracted. Like I mentioned in one of his other films, and I mentioned I noticed this in one of his other ones also. What was it? They hear it where they with did you remember that one? That was where the young girl and her brother live in a house kind of in the woods. And they hear it. It's about a young girl. It looks like she's 11 or 12 and she has a younger brother. And she hears a noise out in and the house is in the woods, middle of the woods. She hears a noise out in the woods and she goes and with her dog and her dog starts barking, going crazy, that kind of stuff. And then she hears this, "Arr," like the dog got attacked or something like that. And then later she goes to check on her brother and he's not there and he's out in the woods. Anyway, um, it's not as, in my opinion, it's not as strong as this one that we watched because the rules aren't followed consistently in it. The dog gets attacked and barks in fear, and later on, when her brother gets attacked in this film, we don't hear him yell out or anything like that. He disappears differently, and so the rules seem to be changing as we watch the film, and in my opinion, that makes you hit the pause button, you're not paying attention to it. Instead, you're trying to understand what the rules are because the filmmaker has changed the rules on you. And so it's very important to be consistent when you create the universe of the film that you're making and to stick with it and make sure that your audience understands it too. And so that's one thing that this film, the one we're talking about right now, Don't Peek, does very well.
And I agree with all that. It's just, I'm starting to look, like, look, what are the trends and what are the things that stand out and link these together? Because, like to me, this one has maybe more in common with Lights Out. And then, then we got shorts like Night of the Slasher and Pumpkin Guts, which seem to be their own thing. Then Mama Agnes, which is probably one of the probably the smallest budget of the movies we looked at, but arguably definitely one of the effectives. And all that is a smile, a woman smiling.
Yeah.
One of the rules we always say, don't show it, don't say it, don't show it.
Show, don't tell. Yeah.
Yeah. And then also too, but don't show the monster. And I think with all these shorts, it breaks that rule. We see the monster and just about all of these.
Well, remember we see the monster at the end.
Yes.
The big problem is if you show the monster early, uh, what we can imagine the monster is always more frightening than what the filmmaker can do. Because when you don't show the monster, that allows your audience to imagine what the monster is. And the thing is that we all have our own idea of what is the most frightening thing is
Hmm.
based upon our experiences. It might be something big, it might be something slimy, it might be something with teeth. Everyone's different. And so when you show the monster, it may be effective for some of your audience members, but it might not be effective for others. And so by saving it for the very end, in this film, with the one last thing we see, we get to see the monster at that final, and it surprises us one thing, and then that's it. Then we're gone. The movie's over with. And so it's not like it shows up, disappears, and then we have time to think about it and mull about it and all that kind of stuff. And so I think that's why, in my opinion, that's why this works so well, is because the monster isn't seen until the very end.
And all the movies do the same. Even with Mama Agnes, even though Mama Agnes, the monster's there the whole time, she doesn't really become noticeable till she's right on top of you.
Well, yeah, that, and we don't quite understand it either because, we're in Mama Agnes, we're in the young woman's shoes. And so we see her mother because we're shown it on the phone, right? And then we see her
Yeah.
again. And so we're there, and it's not until we get close enough that we realize that something's definitely wrong here.
It's also the uncanny valley of the way that's edited too, because she's far away and
Hmm.
looks down and we see the feet and then it's right there.
Right, right. That's a fun way of bringing it in like that. And this movie sort of did the same thing, right?
Yeah.
the thing disappeared on the bed and we actually see the blanket settle down. And then she looks up and there it is.
I like the last moment where the Nintendo Switch gets pushed out from under the covers because like it fills in all the gaps. We imagine it engulfs her, and all that's left is the Switch.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Why doesn't it want the Switch? I don't
Well, maybe
It ate her clothes or ate her shoes. It
like ate
doesn't.
everything, but maybe the Switch is for the next person.
Who in their right mind is going to go into this room?
Well, the Nintendo Switch had a yard sale. I've seen movies where yard
Oh,
sales.
really? Is that going to happen? That's an interesting idea.
Be sacrilege on Tubi now. Well, I think
Total promotion.
yeah, exactly. Man, this was great, man. Like Ham, thanks for reminding me of this short. I really did love this one. All
Good,
right,
good. I enjoyed it too.
3 comments. Let's see what we can find really quickly on our comments. Let's go newest first. 7 hours. Let's see. This one was 19 hours ago. Hot. I don't know if I get what they mean, but one day ago. Okay. But I'm really sick and I don't know why I watched this. And then just happy faces. Hurry, go buy a Nintendo Switch 2 before this happens. This video scared the crap out of me. A lot of them, I'm just looking, most of them are like, this is crazy, or watching this in 2025. And
Hmm.
most of them are just agreeing that this is,
A lot of fun. They enjoyed it.
yeah, a lot of fun and scary.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good job, Julian. Hope to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hope to see more from him. As you know, you and I were talking before we started recording. We're trying to track down what he's up to these days, and we hope that he's still active in the industry, doing things. It looks like he started working for, what do we say?
BuzzFeed. He looks like he
BuzzFeed.
optioned these. Did you see that in his website?
Yeah.
He optioned both these movies, but that was back in the I mean 2020, 2021,
Mhm.
and I mean it's been 4 to 5 years and we haven't heard anything else about him.
Well,
Oh,
hopefully he's active doing something with someone, and we'll hear from him again at some point.
yeah, his last post was a year ago, so he's definitely still making stuff and I hope he continues.
Yep.
So next time we do this, we're going to do a movie that I've been wanting to talk about for a little while, and this one's Catch Your Breath.
Mm,
Do you remember that one?
I do remember that one.
Special effects in that one are pretty incredible.
Good, good. Looking forward to watching it again.
All right. Well, this is Paul, and this is Hamp. If you got a horror movie, share it with us. Until then, like, subscribe, and comment. Until this is 100 Scariest. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.